This video is sponsored by the Comic Tom Mystery Mail Call. Make sure to sign up and join the community today. You have until the 15th of July to secure this box, which will have comics at random, but every box will include the Daredevil issue 1 Comic Tom exclusive cover drawn by Marvel Comics legend Gary Frank. But that's not all. There is a second one per box exclusive. It's the Hail Crow King of Hell by Javon Jordan and Nate Made It. The cover pays homage to James Tynion's Memetic, and you'll receive one of the 4 covers that exist in this month's mail call. That's Comic Tom 101 to join the community. Man, did I pick the wrong 2 weeks to get behind on comics. What's going on, everybody? Gem Mint here. Happy New Comic Book Day. Now, this is not the New Comic Book Day reviews, and I'll get to that in just a moment, but I had to get caught up on 2 weeks, 2 huge weeks of comics during this move, and I wasn't able to read or record videos. So today, I'm going to get caught up on the last 2 weeks of comics, and tomorrow, I should drop the New Comic Book Day reviews just 1 day late, and hopefully get back on track. Although we have San Diego Comic-Con after that, so we'll see. I do want to say I'm going live on Whatnot today, and I have some awesome key issues, man. CGC keys. We have the first appearance of the Living Tribunal, first appearance of Eternity, first appearance of the alien symbiote that later becomes Venom in Amazing Spider-Man 252, plus exclusive variants and more. Make sure to check me out on Whatnot today at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern as I kick off Whatnot Wednesday. All right, now seriously, let's get caught up on these comics, and let's start with one of my favorite comics on the shelves right now from Boom Studios, Berserker issue 9, Keanu Reeves, Matt Kent, Ron Garney, Bill Crabtree. Newt is being tested. He's always being tested. You know, the humans are trying to figure out what his origin is. He's 80,000 years old. He's got the power of a god. He's in some type of submerged chamber, and it seems like his consciousness went out into space last issue and looked like he was meeting his maker or his parents or what have you. So it picks up from there. Very fast-paced book. I don't really want to give any spoilers, but there's this kind of cliffhanger at the end with what happens. I don't really want to spoil it, but digging this series. This one was a little bit too fast-paced for me, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. Then we have Department of Truth, issue 19, James Tynion IV, with Simmons and Bidikar. So you get the same gritty art style that we've been getting throughout this series, and this issue focuses more on the main characters, Cole and Lee Harvey Oswald and the Ministry of Truth and Ministry of Lies. Some of the issues focus on a particular conspiracy theory, if you will, and this one is just kind of the overarching story and the character kind of trying to get out of this, but that's going to be easier said than done. Moving on to Scorched, issue 7, Sean Lewis and Steven Segovia. So Scorched is probably my least favorite Spawn title right now. It feels very teen booky. These guys are all together to fight for the common goal, but they all have their own reasons, and everybody knows why. Gunslinger Spawn's fighting, he wants to get home. Medieval Spawn wants to know who was messing with his mind or his body or whatever. Haunt is part of the team, and everyone's kind of looking at She-Spawn like, what's your motive here? It had some good artwork. It didn't feel as strong as when you have like Brett Booth on the title, but it was all right. Moving on over to A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. We're on issue 9. Rick Remender, joined by Andre Lima Araujo. I always, question whether I'm going to continue reading this, but I'm going to tell you, it's such a fast-paced book that it takes you 2 minutes, and it's kind of gone in this weird direction where this main character is now taking care of this kid that he saved from the black market assassins, and this is kind of just like him having a good time because he's coughing up blood. We know what that means in comics, right? So he's sick and having one last fun day is what it seems like. So it was kind of a nice issue. It was enjoyable, but not much went on, and it was just kind of like, well, what are we going to the beach type of thing. Anyway, next up we have Public Domain, issue number 1 by Chip Zdarsky. This is such a meta book. It's basically like about comic book creators who created, like, I talked to Jim Starlin the other day. He created Thanos, and it's kind of playing with the idea of like him not reaping the financial rewards when it came to the MCU. That's what this book is about. Creators and rights and taking comic books and making them into these big blockbuster movies, and actors not giving a shit about the source material. And it's a good book. It's meta. It's kind of like crossover in the sense that I feel like this is for fans of the comic book industry. Like, if you like the industry and you memorize writers and artists and you have your favorites, like, this is the book for you. Moving on to Little Monsters, issue 5, Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen. This one has grown on me, and we're figuring out why these little kids are these little monsters. And I don't want to give too much away, but this is the aftermath of Hiroshima, but it's like a different skewed universe. We're like 300 years in the future from now. So we get the origin, we get the reason why, and then we have the conflict, the humans that are still alive wanting to wipe out these little monsters because they will straight up eat you and drink your blood and all that. It's black and white, it's red for the blood. I criticized that at first. It's really growing on me. It doesn't feel like a black, white, and red book. It feels like its own story. You forget that it's black and white. Artwork is amazing. All right, moving on to The Closet. Issue 2 by James Tynion. He is joined by Fullerton, O'Halloran, and Napolitano. I really like this series. I hate the dad. Holy shit, he is so unlikable, which you know Tynion's doing that on purpose. This little kid, right? He's scared of the monster in the closet. The father feels like, you know, moving across country is gonna help not only bring his family back together, but help the kid get over his fear. He ends up bunking with an old friend who he hasn't talked to in a while, who really gives him shit. The father, who totally deserves it, kind of just like a therapy session, analyzing him. Why did you take this road trip with your son while your wife flew? Like, I don't know, his reasoning was just kind of didn't really make sense. And then there's this real monster in the midst that's kind of like coming through the closet. Now the closet's in the ceiling. It's crazy. I'm interested to see where it goes. Really dug it. Basilisk from Boom Studios. We're on issue 9 of this. Cullen Bunn, Jonas Scarf, and Alex Gumari. So I've really been liking this series from the beginning. And this gives us more of an origin of the human character that's in cahoots with one of the mutants, if you will, these beings with godlike powers. And we figure out, you know, why is she so involved in this? Why does she care so much about getting rid of these creatures or these people or whatever you want to call them? It kind of makes a little bit more sense when you see what she's gone through and how she's willing to put up with everything and continue this fight. Big kind of twist on who's responsible for the death of her family, which makes this series super interesting. And the last one from the indies, we got Metal Society issue 3, Zach Kaplan, Guilherme Balbi, Marco Lesko, and Troy Patiri. I really like this series. This is way past the extinction of humans. Robots and machines have taken over, so much to the point where they created humans again, or recreated or whatever, to really do the tasks that they don't want to do. Kind of like, you know, what we created robots and machines for. But now there's this fight, this robot, kind of like from iRobot style from Will Smith, and this human that are gonna fight and, I don't know, try to get some type of self-respect back for the human race, to be treated as equals or to be treated with some type of respect and dignity, which they're not being treated with now. That's gonna get us through the indies. Let's go on over to Marvel Comics. Let's start with X-Men Red. We're on to issue 4. This is by Al Ewing, Cabal, Janola. X-Men Red is probably my favorite X-Men title on the shelf right now. This one was a little bit boring, but just dealing with the Resurrection Protocol, they've been outed from in the Daily Bugle. Now everybody knows about Krakoa's cure for death, if you will. Now, how does Arakko feel about that? The Arakans don't have that same type of luxury to just be resurrected anytime. And a lot of touching stuff with Rockslide. He's the character that died in Otherworld, and that's the first time that we found out if you die in Otherworld and you're resurrected on Krakoa, you don't really come back quite the same. And the kids are calling him Wrong Slide because he's this different person. But there was this really like poetic few pages with Wrong Slide and what it means to be alive and resurrected, especially when you're not really the same person that died. So it was kind of slow, a lot of council meeting stuff. Now we're doing council meetings in Arakko, but it had some redeeming qualities as well. Moving on over to Venom, Lethal Protector, issue number 3. This is by David Michelini, Fiorelli, and Valenza. So one of these throwback series, there's another one we'll talk about soon, of Venom in the Lethal Protector days, messing with the Life Foundation, trying to figure out how to make him immune to Sonics, and going up against the Claw, who has that sonic power. But cool throwback Venom issue. Let's go into Sabretooth. Issues 4 and 5 came out back to back, so let's just get into them both, by Lavallee, Kirk, Ewing, and Burrito. So this whole Sabretooth thing is from early on in Hoxpox, right? Where Sabretooth was banished for his crimes against humanity or whatever. Now, since then, more and more have been banished to this kind of internal hell that they're in, or internal prison. But Sabretooth has figured out how to push his consciousness through Krakoa, whether it's as plants or what have you, to still walk and roam, which leads into issue 5 of, spoiler alert, I guess, Sabretooth breaking free and kind of like Suicide Squad-esque. The rest of the prisoners being released to hunt him down and make sure he doesn't come back. Thought that was pretty tough, but hey, it was okay. I'm kind of digging where Sabretooth is going. Then we got Spider-Man 2099. This is Exodus issue 3 by Orlando Carlos and Arsene Yeager. Real big bait and switch on this series, but this is the first one besides the alpha that has Miguel in the story. Like, he's not just on the first page and on the last page. He's actually in this story, and it's very much a Moon Knight 2099 story, death of the Avengers and birth of the new Avengers 2099 kind of thing. And it all has to lead up to going up against Norman Osborn and his cabal, who I guess have the body of a deceased Celestial or something like that. So picked up a little bit. I'm a big 2099 fan. Like I mentioned with the Venom, we have another throwback series with Wolverine patch. This is issue 3, and it's by Hama, DeVito, LeBeau, and Chang. It's got some good qualities to it. It's got a lot of Weapon X stuff that it kind of brings back and some flashback stuff with Wolverine. But overall, I just kind of felt it a little bit boring. Like the Wolverine and Madripoor, just like a lot of talking, a lot of Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff that was just kind of a drag. But it had some good artwork and it had some good, like I said, some good panels. Moving on over to Carnage, issue 4, Rom V. He's joined by Mana and Dijo. I do like this series. I mean, the Carnage symbiote is in control now. He doesn't need a host, even though the Cletus Cassidy consciousness is floating around somewhere. But very Null-esque, going through space, really dragging along his new little protege and trying to see if he's worthy of being his, the host of Carnage or what have you. I don't know if I really like Carnage traversing through space as much. I didn't really love it with Venom either, to be honest, but I didn't like this one as much as I like the other issues so far from this series. Which brings us on to Ghost Rider. We're on issue 4, and this is by Percy Smith Jr. and Valenza. Y'all, this book reminds me of the Danny Ketch 90s run. Everything from like the atmosphere, the horror aspects, the artwork, they go out of their way to really give you good artwork. A lot of these Marvel books, the covers are nice and then the interiors are filler. This one had the Ghost Rider transformations, the melting of the skin, just went out of their way to give you good art, which I appreciated. And this whole following this evil circus, awesome issue. Moving on over to the Variants, issue number 1. This is a Jessica Jones story written by Gail Simone. She's joined by Phil Noto. I really enjoyed this issue. I like Jessica Jones. I've liked her ever since Alias, and Gail Simone does a great job of writing this issue. It just flows so fluently, and the writing is fresh, and it feels real, and it feels like things that people would actually say. Jessica Jones is getting married to Luke Cage, however, somebody from the Purple Man's past, I think it was his first victim, got tapped 10 years to the day from when he let her go, which happens to be the next day for Jessica Jones. So now there's this fear that she's going to be under Purple Man's control again tomorrow. So we'll have to see where that goes. Really dug the Variants. The name suggests there are multiple versions of Jessica Jones, which we do get teased at the end. So also want to see where that goes. But I think that's going to do it for Marvel, and this is a huge stack of DC, and we had a lot of series that ended, man. A ton of series. This is one of them. Well, not really so much a series, but Detective Comics is ending the Tamaki run. She's joined by Shamus, Reyes, Mickey, and Anderson, and this wraps up the whole reporter from the Daily Planet who got all mixed up with her daughter and this whole Riddler Catwoman thing. I don't know. It wasn't really a strong issue. I did like Tamaki's run overall, but it kind of fell off towards the last few arcs, in my opinion. Interested to see who's got it next. Superman is in Action Comics. This is issue 1044. Johnson, Federici, Conrad, and Low Ridge. Superman's still on Warworld, and we're kind of, getting these little stories, a little Mongol story here and there. You're kind of watching humans around a campfire telling a story about Superman. So it's kind of like these weird little ways to tell stories about Superman in Warworld. Don't feel like we're really moving forward as much. What are you gonna do? Robin is concluding with issue 15 here. This is Joshua Williamson, Cruz, Ratman, and Guerrero. I like the ending. It made sense. It wrapped it up with a nice little bow. It didn't really get rid of all the ideas and all the places that Joshua Williamson introduced us here. So I'm interested to see where that goes. A nice little team up with Robin and somebody at the end. I don't really want to spoil it, I guess, but Yeah, it was a nice self-contained series. It started off like this Mortal Kombat tournament, but it ended up being much bigger than that. Batman Catwoman issue 12, the finale here as well. Tom King, Clay Mann, Tomoe Mori. Nice little wraparound cover. I really did like this series, to be honest. It's very much a story of future Selina Kyle killing the Joker. Her daughter, who is the new Batman, I guess you could say, you know, not really liking that and trying to figure out why, and going into the past like Tom King loves to do, and kind of playing out these events. You know, what happened in the past between Catwoman and Joker? Why did she kill him, you know, in the future or what have you? I thought it was a good series. Then we have Batman Beyond the White Knight, Sean Gordon Murphy. So this is kind of confusing. Oh, he's joined by Dave Stewart. It's kind of confusing because we have two Batman Beyond stories going on right now, right? We have the Neo year and then we have this. So I'm trying to like separate the two. This is a world where Terry McGinnis is Batman Beyond, but Bruce Wayne is not helping him. And Bruce Wayne, I don't think he's even dead. He was just locked up, right? Him and Harley had a kid or something like that. Yo, I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping it all together. A lot of Batman titles, a lot of Batman Beyond stuff. Moving on to Swamp Thing, issue 14 out of 16. This is by Ron V as well. He's joined by Perkins and Mike Spicer. Continues to pay homage to Swamp Things in the past with amazing artwork, beautiful paneling, nice, interesting concepts and ideas, including a new realm, a realm of the machines, their avatar, and a visit from the Green Lantern Corps. So wrapping it up, I don't know if they're going to extend this and give us a season 3 or not. Then we have DC vs. Vampires Killers. This is a one-shot featuring Harley Quinn. It's What You Think by Rosenberg, Bowden, Underwood, and Fabuela. Harley Quinn in this vampire universe, going around killing people, acting a fool. I don't remember too much more. I mean, it doesn't really seem like it was that essential to the main story. Same with Batman Fortress issue 2. Now, some of these I read a while ago. This is by Witta, Robertson, and Rodriguez. I read it. I flipped through it now to try to see if I can remember what the hell happened. I can't remember a thing from this. Must not have been that good. All right, guys, moving on to Batman 125, the new Batman run by Chip Zdarsky. This is the variant cover. They were out of cover A. He's joined by Jorge Jimenez, Ortega, Mori, and Guerrero. Beautiful artwork. Storytelling was done so well from the very first few panels, how scary Batman is, and then how scary the Penguin is here. And I gasped out loud with what happened to Tim Drake here, man. I love where Chip Zdarsky's going with this. With one issue, he's got me feeling all types of emotions. Jorge Jimenez artwork is as strong as it's ever been and more serious and grounded, not Joker in a Batman suit. So I really liked Batman 125. Which brings us to Dark Crisis, issue 2 of 7. This is Joshua Williamson, Samperi, and Sanchez. So this is basically a Nightwing verse Deathstroke in this Dark Crisis world, kind of a battle. I love the backup that each of them bring. Basically, each of them bring a Superman to kind of help them out, or the Superman helps out Nightwing, but then Deathstroke's got a Superman of his own. It kind of felt weird as an issue 2 of a Dark Crisis. It almost felt more like a Nightwing or a Deathstroke one-shot from this series. I don't feel like this really made sense for the overall story, besides the fact that we're in the midst of the death of the Justice League, and kind of had to give Black Adam a reason to step up and lead this team. And I guess that's what's happening here. Another conclusion, Joker issue 15, James Tynion, Kamoon Coley, Smith, and Prianto. This was a really good issue. This could have almost been just a one-shot. It recapped everything in such a way that it made so much sense. It tied up all the loose ends. And when you're reading this series monthly, it's like, what the hell's going on? Gordon's gonna kill Joker, then you're dealing with clones, then you're dealing with rich people eating people, which is also being done in an indie story right now. What is it called? Eat the Rich. But this book made it all make sense. It was an oversized issue, and it did tie everything up. Like I said, it made everything come full circle. I think you can read this without reading issues 1 through 14 and know what the hell went on. And I flipped through that punchline backup. It looked whack as hell, didn't even read it. Next up, we got DC vs. Vampires, issue 7 out of 12. Tiny and Rosenberg and Schmidt. I'm trying to remember what happened here. These issues all kind of run in together. We're in this universe where, you know, any good guy can be a bad guy and could be a vampire, and anybody could die and get killed at any moment. It's like Deceased. So it's interesting and fun in that aspect. Plastic Man as a vampire. Wonder Woman is like one of the top bad guys here. It was okay. I mean, it doesn't feel like the series needed to be 12 issues with one-shots. Next up, we got Flashpoint Beyond, issue 3 out of 6. Jeff Johns, Adams, Sheridan, Hermancio, Janine, Ferraro Jr., and Belair. Love this, man. This was A very interesting take on Superman, because we're in the Thomas Wayne universe. So in this universe, Superman was sent down, but not to live amongst the people of Earth. It's for something far more sinister. I don't want to give too much away. This is a dark, gritty story. The Thwayne stuff, the Reverse Flash stuff here, incredible. Jeff Johns' storytelling, second to none. Having a lot of fun with this book. Speaking of having fun with this book, I did not have fun with Batman Killing Time, issue 5 out of 6. Tom King, Marquez, and Sanchez. It's almost hard to believe it that it's the same writer from this and Batman Catwoman. This was such a difficult book to get through. Every page was repeating like the same kind of thing on like, this is taking place at this time and in this location, and pages and pages, and introducing people that are being killed, and it's like, it doesn't matter who they are. Who cares who they are? It was a chore to get through. I didn't find any redeeming qualities about this book whatsoever. I was really kind of disappointed. One more issue and then we'll see where it goes. And the last book, guys, no pick of the week because it's 2 weeks and I'm just trying to get caught up. But the Batman Beyond Neo Year, like I mentioned, this is issue 4 by Kelly, Lansing, Dunbar, and Ferraro Jr. I really like this. It does feel very much like, what is it, New Tokyo from Rai, from Valiant. It felt like something else as well. I'm trying to put my finger on it. Anyway, basically you have Gotham as like this sentient city, and it could literally possess somebody at any given time, give this holographic armor, and fight against Batman. So a big battle between him and this person, and I like how it kind of goes into somebody who's not a bad guy. Now you got to fight this person who you know just has this hologram armor on and being controlled by this AI, and you have to fight them to free your friend type of thing. Beautiful artwork and huge single page spreads on this one. I did enjoy it a lot. And whew, that is going to get me caught up with the last 2 weeks of comics. I already started on this week's. I should definitely be able to finish those today, record the video today, and have it for you guys tomorrow on Thursday, and hopefully keep that rolling. Make sure to come join me on Whatnot. I got keys, variants, and more. And stay minty fresh, y'all. Peace.